So Nintendo thought it would be a good idea to threaten lawsuits against a bunch of ROM hosting sites, and then that sparked a debate on game preservation. And honestly, I feel like that's the wrong conversation to be having, and using a relatively credible one that we should have as a scapegoat for an argument that we should have instead that will have the desired results. Specifically in this case, this reminds me of that time when Dark Souls was the biggest game on the block. And then people were talking about how the disabled would have a very hard time playing the game, and then pointed to Mario Kart as an example around this, specifically in having a mode where you automatically accelerate. If you're differently abled, you're still able to play the game to some degree. The reason why this reminds me of this in a different way is that I don't think people were really that invested in talking about the disabled. I'm sure some were, but this isn't exactly an issue that's the hot button on every gamer's radar. I honestly feel like this was more a discussion about having Dark Souls be easy to play without giving the obvious strike back of get good son or something to that effect. Here, I feel like this is a conversation we want to have about games being convenient to play, not preserving them, because I don't think we're ever going to live in a dystopian future where Mario and Duck Hunt isn't going to be available. And even if they weren't available, well, they're available right now. Like, we can go get a copy of them. So that said, I'm mostly making this video because I'm seeing a lot of videos where I don't see my personal viewpoint reflected very well. So I am going to post this. We are having the wrong discussion. The discussion we should have is, should Nintendo be making their games easier to access at a cheaper price? Because they tried giving us games that are available digitally, and people said, no, fuck that. I would rather take my money and light it on fire than humor the idea of paying $5 for ice climbers. And frankly, I am inclined to agree with this statement. I would rather do literally anything else with my money than pay $5 entire for ice climbers. And I had to think, okay, why is this the case? Nintendo is giving us part of what we want, but not in a perfect way, and we don't really seem that interested in discussing a compromise here. And I feel like that is mostly because we are jumping to an all or nothing conclusion based on the fact that we've seen this work in other ways. So for those of you who are questioning, where am I going to bring anime into this because you know it's coming, here it is. So for a long time in high school, I was a ride or die torrents person. I'm not paying $40 for episode 22, 23, and 24 of Inuyasha. There's no force on the face of the earth that will get me to pay $40 for 3 episodes of anime. However, on the other hand, there is a force on earth that will get me to pay $10 a month, $120 a year, for damn near every anime that I could ever watch. And if you don't like anime, this basically holds true for TV, and basically at least half of all movies, because streaming is a thing. Netflix is a thing. Hulu is a thing. Streaming is a thing. We don't live in a fictional world where we don't know what it's like to be able to drop a couple of dollars per month to get basically all the shit that we want to. We do. And I think the discussion that the gaming community probably needs to have, and publishers probably need to acknowledge is the real thing going on here, is that what is it going to take to get a service that is happening that will get basically all the games I want for very little money? And you may be thinking, oh, that's very entitled of you. That's so fucked up of you. Sure, I don't think that's an unreasonable statement to make. Not just for me, but for most gamers in general. Because we have proven this countless times over again. If you are not making your product reasonably available, people will just straight up steal that shit. Especially if the act of stealing it isn't exactly breaking into someone's house. If you can just literally hit a button and make a copy of that thing you want, you're probably gonna do it. So it's less so a argument about Nintendo's right